Hello, I'm Dr. James, a men's health specialist with over 30 years of experience dedicated to treating aging men across America. What if I told you that a way of masturbating you might have practiced for a long time, something you've always thought was harmless, could potentially be damaging your prostate, draining your testosterone, and silently affecting your sleep, heart, and even your confidence as a man? Many men only discover this in their later years after experiencing confusion, low energy, or declining sexual health that doctors never fully explained. I've sat with thousands of men, strong, wise, and proud, who never imagined that a private habit could have such public consequences on their health and vitality. The truth is, the most common masturbation habits in older men can quietly work against the natural changes your body goes through as it ages. It's not the act itself, but how, why, and when you do it that matters. And no one's talking about it until now. In this discussion, I'll reveal 5 significant mistakes that most older men make without realizing it. These are mistakes that can often be reversed for better energy, stronger intimacy, and even improved longevity. But stay with me because mistake number 3 is one that nearly ruined a marriage, and mistake number 5 is something most doctors don't even know exists. Before we dive in, if you find this information valuable, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss important health insights, tailored specifically for men like you. And if this article resonates with you, type 1" in the comments. If not, type 0. Your feedback helps me better serve your needs in the next one. Alright, let's get into it. Mistake 1. Relying on porn, the dopamine drain. The first mistake is one I see more and more in older men today, and it's largely because of how dramatically modern technology has changed our habits. It's subtle, it feels harmless, but it's quietly rewiring your brain and damaging your ability to feel real pleasure. Let's talk about the hidden dangers of relying on porn. Mistake 1. Using porn as a crutch, the dopamine drain. This is the one almost no one talks about, yet it's quietly impacting millions of men, especially those in their later years. I've sat across from countless patients in my office who have no idea that their late-night habit, the one they think is just a bit of harmless private time, is actually affecting their brain, hormones, and even their ability to connect emotionally. When I ask, "Do you use pornography when you masturbate?" most men chuckle and say, "Sure, doesn't everyone?" But then they pause because what follows is usually a quiet admission. Lately, it takes longer. I don't feel as much. I need something more intense just to get going. That's when I know their brain's reward system is overstimulated and worn out. Here's what's really happening. Porn today is not what it once was. It's faster, more extreme, and endlessly available. Your brain, especially as you age, simply wasn't designed to process that much stimulation. Each click floods your system with dopamine, your pleasure and motivation chemical, but over time, your receptors can become less responsive. That's when the numbing begins. You start needing more, feeling less, and wondering what happened to the real desire you used to have. Most older men don't connect the dots. They think they're losing their drive because of age or testosterone, but in many cases, it's this daily overload of synthetic stimulation that's burned out their pleasure system. And because it's private, no one questions it until the intimacy in their relationship starts fading or they realize they're avoiding real connection for something on a screen. I've worked with men who went 30 days without porn and were stunned by how much sharper, more emotionally present they felt. One man in his early 70s told me, "I thought I was just getting old, but it turns out I was just overstimulated and out of balance." That's the power of understanding what your body actually needs as it changes. Mistake 2, using it as a sleep aid, hormonal disruption. So if you've been relying on porn to relax or feel something, it might be time to step back, not out of shame, but out of self-respect. Your brain is still capable of deep, real pleasure, but first, it needs a break to reset. And if you think this was eye-opening, wait until you hear mistake number 2 because it's something most men believe helps their sleep, when, in reality, it's doing just the opposite. Mistake 2. Masturbating as a sleep aid. Hormonal reversal at night. This one hits close to home for so many of the men I've worked with, and most of them never even realize it's a problem until we start talking about their sleep. They tell me, "Doc, I'm up at 2 a.m. again, can't shut my mind off. So I do what helps, I release and fall asleep." At first glance, it makes sense. It's relaxing, it quiets the mind, and they usually drift off right after. But what they don't see, and what I've had to explain to hundreds of men, is what's happening inside their body afterward. That's where the real issue lies. As we age, everything in our hormonal system can become more sensitive, more fragile. Testosterone, melatonin, cortisol. They all work together like gears in a clock. When you masturbate at night, your body releases a hormone cocktail meant to relax you. Sounds good, right? But here's the catch. Along with that temporary calm comes a sharp drop in testosterone and a disruption in melatonin timing. Instead of setting your body up for restorative sleep, you often get fragmented shallow rest, and worse, you wake up groggy, unmotivated, sometimes even more anxious than before. The cruel irony is that the very habit so many men believe helps them fall asleep is what's robbing them of the deep, healing rest they actually need to stay asleep and feel refreshed. And this isn't something you'll hear in most doctors' offices, because it's subtle, it's private, and frankly, most physicians never think to ask. But I do, because I've seen it play out in man after man, year after year. One patient, Bill, 68, told me he hadn't had a solid night's sleep in over 5 years. We talked through his routine, and when he cut out his nightly habit and started focusing on morning self-care instead, his sleep improved within days. It's not magic, it's biology. Your body simply needs the right conditions to rest. If you've been depending on this to fall asleep, take a moment to consider what it might be costing you long term. Try changing the timing and observe what happens to your sleep and energy levels. Mistake 3. Too much pressure. Nerve damage risk. Speaking of timing, mistake number 3 is something I see all the time, and it has nothing to do with when you masturbate but how. In fact, it's the most physically damaging mistake on this list, and most men don't realize the harm until it's too late. Mistake 3. Too much pressure. Literally, nerve damage risk. This is one of the most heartbreaking mistakes I see, because by the time most men realize something's wrong, the damage may already be significant. I've had men in their late 60s, even early 70s, sit across from me, looking embarrassed, confused, and worried. They say things like, "I used to feel everything. Now it's dull. Sometimes I can't feel anything at all." They assume it's age, and yes, age plays a role, but often it's not just aging, it's years of unknowingly treating their body too roughly. What most men don't realize is that the penis is incredibly sensitive, not just emotionally but physically. It contains a dense network of fine nerve endings, particularly along the dorsal nerve. When a man uses excessive pressure, a tight grip, or aggressive techniques for years on end, it can start to wear those nerves down bit by bit. Sensation fades, response time increases, erections may weaken. It doesn't happen overnight, and that's why it sneaks up on so many men. I've had patients tell me they've been using the same technique since they were much younger, firm, fast, with no lube, because that's what always worked. But what worked at 20 doesn't necessarily support your body as it ages. The truth is, your body changes, your sensitivity changes, and what once felt normal may now be working against you. One man, 72, told me he hadn't climaxed during intercourse in over a year. After examining his habits, we found years of overstimulation had dulled his sensitivity. With gentler techniques, rest, and recovery, he began to feel again, not overnight but gradually. And with that feeling came confidence and hope. Men don't talk about this. They carry it alone, thinking it's their fault or just something they have to live with. But it's not. You can protect your nerve health. You can retrain your body. All it takes is a little awareness, a little patience, and the willingness to treat your body with the same respect you'd offer someone you love. Mistake 4. Ignoring emotional needs, loneliness, and habit. Now, as serious as nerve damage is, what I'm about to share in mistake number 4 is just as important because it's not physical at all, it's emotional, and it's something I believe silently affects nearly every man I've ever treated. If you're still watching and these insights are striking a chord, go ahead and type the number 1 in the comments to let me know you're still with me. Let's keep going. Mistake 4. Ignoring the emotional layer, loneliness, and shame. This is the one that rarely gets said out loud, but I see it written on men's faces every single day. It's not just about sex or pleasure, it's about what's underneath. I've had so many older men tell me they don't even know why they're masturbating anymore. It's not about desire or intimacy, it's about passing time, numbing the quiet, filling a space that used to be full of life, laughter, or someone beside them. The truth is, many older men use masturbation not for connection, but for escape from the silence, from the absence of touch, from the fear of being alone. And the worst part is they don't even realize they're doing it. It becomes a habit, a quiet routine tucked away from the world. But that routine can start to wear down more than just the body. It wears down the heart. Over time, self-pleasure, without emotional connection, can reshape the brain to seek release without intimacy. It can rewire your system to prefer isolation, to avoid vulnerability, to push away even the possibility of closeness. You may begin to feel more detached, not just from your partner if you have one, but from yourself. And then comes the shame. You wonder why the same act that once brought joy now feels empty, even a little sad, but you tell no one, and that isolation grows deeper. I remember one man, a 74-year-old widower, who told me through tears, "It's not the sex I miss, it's her voice, her skin, her just being there." For years, he'd been using masturbation as a substitute for connection. When he finally realized that, he began to shift. He joined a local men's group, started writing letters to his late wife, even reached out to old friends. He still pleasured himself, but now it came from a place of love, not loneliness. This is something almost no man is ever taught, that self-touch can be emotional, even spiritual, when done with presence and intention. And when it becomes a mindful act, rather than a hidden habit, it changes everything. Mistake 5. Thinking it SEPs, only private, prostate, and heart impact. Now, while the emotional cost of isolation is heavy, mistake number 5 brings us back to something even more urgent. Your physical health. And what I'm about to tell you is something most doctors never mention, yet it affects your prostate, your heart, and your entire sense of vitality. Mistake 5. Thinking it STEPs, only private, prostate, and heart impact. This one is perhaps the most misunderstood of all, because it hides behind the idea of privacy. Most men tend to believe that what they do in private has no real consequence beyond their own mind. "It's my body, doc. It's not hurting anyone," they'll say. I understand that logic. I really do. But here's what most men, particularly as they age, don't realize: even private habits can have very real, very physical consequences, especially on the parts of the body that matter most. As we get older, I've seen a clear connection between unbalanced self-pleasure habits and issues with the prostate, cardiovascular function, and energy levels. It's not that masturbation itself is the problem. It's when it's done too frequently, compulsively, or without proper physical care that it can become a hidden stressor on the body. Older men can be especially vulnerable to this because the systems that regulate blood flow, hormone levels, and tissue repair aren't as resilient as they once were. I've had patients who were experiencing pelvic discomfort, increased urgency at night, and even slight elevations in blood pressure. We reviewed their lifestyle, diet, medications, and then we looked at their private routines. Once they started adjusting the frequency and adding in hydration, pelvic floor exercises, and recovery time, their symptoms often eased. One gentleman in his late 60s said to me, "I had no idea something I've done my whole life could be linked to my prostate flaring up." That's the danger of assuming it's just private. The truth is, your body doesn't separate physical acts from emotional or hormonal responses. Everything is connected. Ejaculation affects blood flow, hormone release, sleep patterns, and yes, even inflammation. And when those systems are already more sensitive due to age, the impact can add up faster than most men realize. It's not about stopping, it's about balance. It's about making choices that support your vitality rather than quietly draining it. When done with care, self-pleasure can be a healthy part of aging, but ignoring its effects is a risk too many men take without ever seeing it coming. Final thought: listen to your body, reclaim your strength. Now that we've walked through these 5 major mistakes, there's one more that underlies them all. It's not about the act of masturbation itself. It's about how we as men have often been taught to ignore our bodies, to dismiss discomfort, and to stay silent even when something doesn't feel right. This silence, this internalized belief that I'll deal with it later, is the ultimate and perhaps most pervasive misstep of all. I've worked with men for over 30 years, and if there's one pattern I've seen again and again, it's that most of us were never taught how to listen to our bodies, especially when it comes to anything involving sex, aging, or vulnerability. We tough it out, we adapt to discomfort, we normalize low energy, restless sleep, reduced sensation, or emotional flatness, thinking that's just what happens when you get older. But let me tell you something, aging is natural. Suffering often is not. When your sleep is off, when your energy is low, when sex starts to feel more like a memory than a living part of your life, those aren't just old age problems. They're signals your body is asking for attention, for balance, for respect. And when you learn to listen to those signals, when you adjust how you care for yourself, even in private ways like how you masturbate, it's not weakness, it's wisdom. Each of the mistakes we've talked about, relying on porn, using it as a sleep aid, applying too much physical pressure, neglecting the emotional layers, and underestimating the physiological impact, they all have one thing in common: most men didn't know better. And that's okay. How could you? No one ever told you. Most doctors don't ask. Most conversations about men's health stop at cholesterol or blood pressure. But this deeper conversation about your inner life, your body, and your sexuality is just as vital. A valuable life lesson I've learned and shared is this: it is never too late to listen to your body and reclaim your well-being. I've seen men in their 60s, 70s, even 80s make powerful changes. I've seen marriages rekindle. I've seen men go from numb to alive again, not because of a pill or surgery or anything dramatic, but simply because they finally understood their bodies better, honored what they were feeling, and chose to care for themselves more intentionally. So if something in this message spoke to you, don't brush it off. Take one step, just one. Maybe it's reducing your reliance on screens. Maybe it's changing the timing. Maybe it's simply admitting you've been lonely and you want something deeper than habit. Whatever it is, start there. Because this isn't about shame. It's about reclaiming your strength, your clarity, your self-respect. You're not broken. You're not too old. And it's never too late to feel like yourself again. If this message resonated with you, I encourage you to like this article. It helps more men like you find the truth they were never told. Share it with a friend, a brother, or anyone who might need to hear this, and most importantly, leave a comment below. Type 1 inch if this opened your eyes, or 0 inches if you feel there's still more I need to cover. Your feedback helps me create content that truly supports you. Let's keep this conversation going, because you're not alone in this. Please subscribe to the channel for more health insights.